Hey, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Open Office Hours. Today, we are going to go over our next release, which is due out this week. You'll be seeing some of these features phased into your instance over the next couple days. And, we're going to go over some of the highlights of this release first, but we're going to focus a good part of our time on the major rework we've done within our reports section of the platform. One of the things that we've heard from our customers is that they want to have more flexibility to bring in other content. They want to dress up the their reports with a little bit more visuals and bring in some more of their traditional cover art into the system. And we're going to show you how you can do that so you can really create a nice, sleek report for your customer. So with that, looks like we've got folks kind of showing up, so we'll kind of continue from this point forward. But if you do it, I want to open up first. If you do have any questions, please pop them into chat. I would love to hear from you throughout these meetings. Want these to be very interactive. So please, if you want to join us in the conversation today, I'd love to see some chats come through. As always, as part of our open coaching, at the end of this session, we are going to open up the floor for Q&A. Any questions, whether they have to do with the content that we share today or anything else we can do as well. So with that being said, I'm going to kick things off first by talking a little bit about our upcoming release this week. Few different highlights within the system. So, let's talk about what's in the release. First thing is a streamlining of our security dashboard. So a couple things here. First thing is, one of the things that has been shared with us is as these dashboards get a little bit more complete, and you start building a lot of recommendations, start really building out your goals with your customer, they can be a little tough to read. A lot of stuff will become scrollable on the page. So we wanted to give you a little bit easier way to control the content, especially in that first meeting where you might be introducing the security or the strategy view, but haven't yet worked with your customer in discussing recommendations. So we've really tried to give you a little bit more control on this page. So first thing you're going to see is, as you look at this top slide here, we've now hidden the recommendations by default. So you'll really be able to isolate in on the goals on each page, see what those are, and then down below, you'll notice in the second image, you can then expand out the recommendations under any one of those goals when you're ready to present them. This was really done to give you more control on this page, as I mentioned earlier, to alleviate some of the challenges that come when you have a number of recommendations, a number of goals, and they become quite expansive on this page and start causing you to need to scroll more. And it's really going to allow you to focus in on specific goals and what some of those supporting tasks are as well. In addition to the collapsing content here, the other thing that's changing within our strategy dashboard, and this was another highly requested item, was showing in progress projects differently. So when you're talking about how your technology roadmap is really meeting up with business objectives, you can really better identify the contracts that are in place, the projects that might be undergoing implementation at that point versus the projects that have already been delivered. So what you're going to see is a new yellow flag option. This yellow flag will come out onto this page when it's in progress. It'll still score as if it's deployed because that it is in place at that stage. But now you'd be able to keep track versus, of completed projects. There's a tongue twister for me, versus some of those projects that might be, still in progress or contracts that are in deliverables. So, you'll see down here, you've now got that expansion capability. So we're really trying to kind of streamline the process here on the the strategy dashboard and help you convey your message a little bit stronger. Another new item in this release is inside the GRC dashboard. We're now bringing in this kind of program level dashboard, and you can toggle between these programs if you have multiple programs. This gives you a little bit more of a board level view into your InfoSec program. Here you're able to share with your customer what's been assessed. More importantly, how much risk has been satisfied, what risk is that organization accepting as part of their plan, and what's in the plan of action and milestones. In each one of these assessments, you'll notice that there's some circles sitting down there on the dashboard. Basically, depending on what the assessment is, that'll break out into the different controls domains contained within. So here in the NIST CSF, what you're looking at is all the different kind of breakdown topics that they have within that resolution. If this was a CIS, you'd be seeing the CIS 18 domains. And you basically are giving a very high level visual representation of where things are meeting your requirements and where things are falling short. Now, in this particular graphic, everything's meeting the graph, but as you start dipping below some of your predefined thresholds, you'll start throwing off, red markings instead of green markings as well. Really letting your customers see very visually, hey, where are the problems and what area of technology is that problem resident? Another new feature coming out in this week's release. This was something else folks had been asking for a while now. Really, it's just an assessment compliance report you can run. Here, what this is going to do is let you take a look at all of your different standards that you've assessed and see what their current status is and when they were last updated. Also, anything that was updated over 90 days beforehand will show up as red here. So you can really identify things that might fall out of compliance in terms of review very easily. So if you look over at that image, you'll notice that you can see last update and who was the person to last update it, as well as some of the questions that have yet to be answered. And again, if any of those were, more than 30 days more than 90 days since last review, they would then highlight in red so you can quickly decipher that as well. So this is now a standard report within our report section. You can run it against each customer, and it's really going to help you keep track of your assessments, especially as you move to assessment number 2, 3, 4, and beyond. One final item that we have in our review before we go into or set of items, I should say, we have before we go into the report designer upgrades. A few different things. Let's start first with the CAM module. Now in the CAM module, it's been departments has been renamed departments and sites to reflect the use cases supported. So basically, if you've got a multi-site customer, what this allows you to do is identify what those different sites are. And then when you do that, as you're building out recommendations, you can align those projects to the sites that the project might be supporting. This gives you the ability to show your customers not only a global budget view, but also a site-specific budget underneath that. So if you've got a kind of a headquarters with 3 different sites in operation, you can show all the shared services up in the headquarters column and then show the individual projects at each site and generate a budget there. So this was originally created for departments. We had a number of state and local government offices, as an example, that needed budgets for things like parks and rec versus sanitation or things like that. Now it allows you to do that across multiple sites as well. In the roadmap, we added a filter for recurring and non-recurring projects within that display as well. This is one I think should have been in a long time ago, quite frankly. And really what it allows you to do is basically share with your customer as you're presenting the budget, the roadmap. You can now isolate any of the recurring contracts, show them kind of what their steady state fees are, and then switch over to their non-recurring projects. So you can kind of give them a sense of what are the new dollars they might have to invest during that year. Again, that joins the family of different filters, which also includes that department and sites filter, of course, as well. But basically, that's just really allowing you to better illustrate some of your recurring products where you haven't been able to before. We've added tooltips now throughout the system. There was a limited batch of tooltips before, but now we've got more intuitive tooltips in various areas within our system. If you look over here in the third image down on the right-hand side, you'll see the number. We've got a variety of different icons over here on the right-hand side in your customer record. These are shortcuts to things like creating tasks, scheduling in the calendar, getting to your templates, launching customer experience surveys, or of course, going into your IT review. And now if you're not familiar with what those icons stand for, if you roll over them, you'll get a little bit of feedback letting you know exactly what to do. Those tooltips, while I highlight them under customers, are found throughout the application at this stage as well. And then the final item is we've done some QBR dashboard updates. You're going to continue to see dashboard updates as we bring more automation into the system. But a couple key updates are in terms of Microsoft scoring. simple one. We've added percentage signs just to really help you understand what that score is. We've now put an MFA score in a percentage rank. So one of the confusing things that we've seen out there is MFA has two different scoring models. If it's MFA for your end users, I believe it's out of a scoring model of, points out of 10. If it's for your administrative users, it's points out of 9. Those things did not translate very well, or at least understandably in the dashboard. We've now converted those into percentages. So you know that if you're 83%, good there, you probably still have some work you can do. And now there's a corresponding bar chart down at the bottom too, which gives you kind of a visual representation of where you stand against your against your individual roadmap as well, or excuse me, against your MFA scores. So, some things to give a little bit more information. In our next release, you should have some drill downs, which will get you into the information. So you're going to see some more interactivity with some of these data tiles represented here. And we're just about to the point where we're bringing in enough data points that will start giving you the ability to customize these dashboards so you can tell the stories that you want to tell to your end user customers. So again, these are some of the highlights in our release that'll be coming out into your instances over the course of this week. But now let's move into the meat of the matter, which is our new report designer. So when you come into the application and I go under admin from any one of the modules, you'll see I come into the report designer. For those of you that are familiar with the report designer already, you're going to notice there's two new green buttons here at the top. So many of you might be familiar with our global report sections here. This is where you can change any of the default language we have in headers and custom summaries. So, if you're not happy with any of the language that we've put in there, or you want to make any changes to that universally in your system, you can absolutely do that right within the customized global settings. And that is something that's been in our system probably since we launched. What we've added since then is more control for your cover pages. As many of you know today, our cover page is pretty much what you're seeing up in the upper box there. You're able to upload your logo, and then you get on a white blanket or a white piece of paper, the logo on the left, a little separation bar, and then whatever the title of the meeting is and who it's prepared for on the right. You will now see that you can build a few other different types of cover pages and even footer pages now. So here we're able to do a horizontal cover page for our customer. Here's an example of a full-size cover page. So if you've already got cover art that you utilize as on your own, you just have to bring an image of that cover art in that size that's recommended, and that would generate that cover for you. Over here, we have footer page. So if you want to have a closing page with some content in your reports, you can add that here as well. So, a couple of things you'll notice here. You've got the ability to create those additional covers, but you can also preview what they look like over here on the right-hand side. And that preview capability is going to come up a few different times as we go through this process. Another area we have now is creating your own custom marketing images. Now, with our release this week, we'll be adding to the university some of our new artwork that we have available there in my QA system, so you will not see that right now. But we have built some infographics that you can include in your report, things like SMB security trends, cybersecurity risk trends, end of life for Windows, different infographics that can be incorporated to bring more visual capability into your reporting. To do so, you would just simply create a report section, give it a title, give it a description, and then choose an image from the image library. Now, the image library is found under the admin button as well. You can upload any images you have. And this is a perfect example of where, folks that want to bring in different reports potentially into the system, you can take a screenshot of that report, upload it here into the system, and then incorporate it into your customer's report as well. You'll notice this is where we're starting to introduce tags for you as well. Tags will ultimately help you with being able to keep track of these things as you add more into the marketing. But you're going to see tags come into our system around templates as well to give you the capability to use some of our templates across different meeting types. But for today, tags will tie to these images, and you'll see here that you can upload different images and then use them in your report sections. In just a moment, I will show you a couple of those that are in place. Now, as I switch over to the report designer, this still operates similar to what you did before. You're going to give your report a name, but notice over here, we've now better organized the different sections. We were, for those of you that have used a report designer before, you might remember there was two long and growing lists of different sections. It was tough to decipher which ones were really used for which type of report, what some of those meant. And it was hard to really construct the meeting if you didn't know what, if you really didn't have in-depth, intimate knowledge here. So what we've done now is really broken this out into 4 different sections. First, it starts with page sections. This is where you would put in your title pages. In this case, I've got my full image here. And notice when I bring in that full image, title page here, I'm able to see what that title page looks like and preview it. So page sections are really for getting your title pages into this meeting. It's also where a number of your page breaks live if you need page breaks as well. Now we have QBR sections. This has all the different reports that can be utilized as part of a QBR process. Some of these are just looking at data different ways. Think down here, recommendations by quarter, rolling 4 quarters, or current year as an example. Those are just 3 different ways you can show recommendations in addition to a timeline and our traditional roadmaps. So, I encourage you to explore some of these. We are going to put together kind of a report cookbook to help you build some standard custom reports where you might want to bring in some imagery as well. From QBR sections, we now move into GRC sections, so you can find the ones that are associated with the GRC module very quickly. And custom sections is where you can use that marketing art that you've built and brought that into your reports. So you'll notice up here in this particular report I'm in, this is for CIS. So we've brought in some CIS educational artwork into this report here. We're able to tell the customer a little bit about what the CIS version 8 is all about. We're able to share what implementation groups are. And then we move into our scorecard, our controls assignment, and then down at the bottom, we can add this footer image as an example. So really what this allows us to do is kind of drag and drop some visuals into our reports as well and make them standard for our clients very easily. Now let's give you an idea of what this all looks like. So I'm going to jump into QBR first. I'm going to hop over into a customer, and I'm going to go into reports. And I'm going to start off with our traditional period final report, which many of you might have built with me into your system during onboarding. A couple things you'll notice here very quickly. We've added a little bit of a better break to the process, or I'm not sure how to really term this, but our headings were kind of sitting out there in the wild before. Now we've kind of put the heading into a bar format. You've got control of the colors under admin settings, so you can get them to match your brand. But you'll notice it just gives a little bit more visual to the page break. And I'm going to hit the PDF on this so we can look at that in just a moment as well. Then from there, I'm showing my strategic plan, as you've often seen prior to this. Basically, where are we in the process? And then the deep dive into each one of the business goals and challenges with updates on, adoption and completion status. We then move into the compliance scorecard. And again, with your color controls, you can have a different table heading color versus your color up here for the overall headings. So you get a little bit of that separation in the report. We've got our Microsoft data here, our trend scoring, and then down to our assessments as you traditionally have seen before. We then move into our tickets, our technology roadmap. And then here's an example of one of the visuals that we've pre-built for you that you can bring into the system. Basically bring in this Windows end of life object, which would then show all the expiration dates of existing in place operating systems and when they are due for extended warranty support expiration. I've now added in my asset summary. And in this case, I go to a recommendations timeline. So I'm still having some rendering issues here in this, but I will send some sample reports to everybody on the call today so you can see it. It looks like I'm having some issues with the rendering engine. They might be doing some testing as this is not yet in public release. But I'll send you those PDFs to look at. Just to give you kind of a look at a different type of visual within the reports. If I go over to the GRC module, and I hope I didn't just hose myself by trying to render that PDF. The joys of doing things live. Bear with me, guys. I'm just going to re-sign into the application. Again, you're looking at QA here, my quality assurance side. So sometimes I expect some bugs there. But again, this will be rolled into your production during the course of this week. Oh, guys, I may have hosed the QA system in trying to render that report. So while we're waiting for QA to come back online, I'll open up the floor for any questions. Yeah, Brian, it's a demo, and I'm in my QA box. You know how it goes. When Murphy's Law, when you're doing something live, things will definitely happen, and I'm certainly encountering that today. But in the meantime, any questions, concerns, thoughts about what you're seeing in the reporting? I know I'm going through it quickly. There will be instructions in the university on how to help you do this. There'll be videos, of course, to help you through this, and it'll be in our knowledge base as well. But you know, I will send a couple sample reports to everybody that attended on our call, so you can see a little bit more about what those visuals will bring into the system. Any questions, concerns, thoughts, whether it's about the report designer, any of the other new features I talked about today, or any questions outside of this about vCIOToolbox I can answer for you. So there was a question about, did we add a bunch of generic GRC add-ins like our Microsoft EOL, or is it a capability for us to add on our own? So the marketing area, we have some pre-built documents which will be available for you to review and download from the university, then upload into your image library if you feel that you'd like them. In that, we have a number of different, they're typical infographics with statistics, right? So we've got some infographics around cyber risk, some infographics around small to mid-size business. Actually, I think I can bring up that report pretty easily here as well. Bear with me. There we go. Yep. So here's a sample report. But to your point, yes, you have the ability to use ours or bring in your own generic ones as well. If you build your own, own pro, and then the other thing, if you want to build your own, Brian, let me clarify this. I'm assuming what you mean by bringing in your own programs is, can I upload my own security template into the GRC? And the answer is yes, that is going to be part of this release as well. So you will be able to bring your own template into the GRC, choose your scoring model within that GRC as well. You will have to maintain those. We won't commit to the mapping technology that's coming into our system being tied back to those custom ones, but you will have the ability to build your own risk assessments in addition to the traditional cyber frameworks and security frameworks we have in there as well. So again, I'll reiterate those last two questions. One, you can use some of our artwork and infographics, or you can bring your own into the system. Both are available to you, and both just require you creating a new marketing tile using that, what I showed you earlier in the QA, the green button. And then the second thing is, yes, you can build your own templates now in the GRC side. So just to kind of run you through another review, this is kind of a technology review, and it's my CIS review. A couple of things you'll notice here when I go full page, it now puts a new footer down in our report where we're able to see our logo and see the pages that are associated with it. When we come in here, it's now putting the title of the report in the upper right-hand corner. So in this case, it makes it very easy to see that it's an IG1 report. down below here, you'll notice this is where visuals come into play. So now I'm able to add CIS controls. I've got this is a pre-canned visual that you'll be able to pull from our library. You'll be able to see the 18 different domains, a little bit of a breakdown of those domains and some verbiage around it. And then we have a visual for the implementation group. So if you want to bring our implementation group discussions or rankings into here, you can as well. We then go into our scorecard, which you guys have seen a few different times, our controls assessment. Then we move into our plan of action and milestones as well. So what you're seeing here is, that's where we can bring some different visuals in. And people have asked for the ability to put in their own visuals for things like showing the customer what their wiring closet looks like versus maybe what a good wiring closet should look like, or bringing in other images of other facts that they want to share with the customer as well. So again, this just gives you a little idea of how you can now bring a little bit more visual into your reporting. You can set these things up as landscape or regular, but getting a more complete cover page and certainly adding different visuals like these implementation groups for this particular CIS report adds a little bit more aesthetic to the reports versus what we had prior. Another question we have here is, I mentioned tagging. Where will tagging be available in the future? So one big place where tagging is going to be available is in our templates. And what this is going to allow you to do is use templates across different meeting types. So what do I mean by that? We encourage you to obviously use this as a pre-sales tool as well. That's one of the main drivers behind putting more visuals into the reports, so you can build a little bit more enticing pre-sales report for your customer as well. If you're doing that pre-sales reporting, ideally it would be great if that was your level 1 questions in your business review that you're leveraging for that. That way, if the customer converts, you can continue moving on with them. But let's say they don't convert and you just want to use the simple 30 question, red flag report we have in the system. The tagging will allow you to do that. And then that tag can be brought into your business review reporting. So if you want to maintain those questions and make them kind of the, in effect, new level 1 for your business reviews, those tags will then make the relationship between the two meeting types in that template. Today, as many of you know, whatever the template is assigned to, that is the only place it can be used. So if it's a business review template, it can only be used as a business review template. If it's a cloud readiness template, it can only be used as a cloud readiness. But what if you want to incorporate a cloud readiness into your business review report? Tagging will allow you to do those kind of things. Other areas where there might be tagging available, obviously we showed you here in some of the artwork, so you can find different visual groups a little bit faster. Really, we're still trying to assess where there might be more areas that tagging is advantageous, but it's really been around reports and template management, at least from where we see things as we get started. Any other questions I can ask for you guys or answer for you guys? Don't think I've quite gotten back into my system yet. So again, I would expect over the course of the week, you will see this, launch into your platforms. You'll get notice when these things go live in your region. Oh, good, we're back in. I just want to be able to show you guys, a couple of the other graphics we have. So when you come into QBR, under admin, above your report designer, you'll see the image section. You'll see we have a number of different images: Windows EOL, some SMB, cyber stats. In this case, not sure if it'll pop out any further. We basically show things like every 39 seconds, there's a ransomware attack. Every 14 seconds, somebody allows in a breach. Some basic kind of danger numbers, if you will. Oh, there we go. We can look at these as a group this way too. You'll see that we have a cyber risk image that's in here that's really showing you cyber risk going up. We have cyber readiness here, where you're able to show some of your different statistics around cyber readiness and what those costs might be. Oh, there we go. I'm still learning things in the system too. But you'll see that in the cyber readiness infographic. We talk a little bit about the cost of cybercrime, how many people are really prepared for it. number of data breaches happening, where phishing comes into play, and breach cost. If I go into cyber risk, you'll see here we're showing that 47% of cyber victims lose money. How many people actually have cyber insurance? What's the traditional cost of an event? So some different numbers here. We are working on some different image sets. You're getting a little bit of a preview. These are the standard ones here that are going to be coming out at first. These are some of the upcoming ones that we're playing around with, some that are a little bit more fun, some that are just giving it in a little bit different color schemes as well, so people can match those up. This is our CIS controls version 8 that you saw in that report here. Here, what it's really showing the customer is what each domain is, how many questions are associated, and how many of those questions are at each implementation group for CIS. And then here, we're actually showing in greater detail what those implementation groups really bring to the party and who they're meant for. So it kind of gives you a definition of what IG1, IG2, and IG3 are. So if you tell a customer that they're only at IG1 and they go, no, I think we should be higher, you can kind of help them understand why that's really where they need to be, or move them up higher if they request to. So again, you'll have access to these images when the upgrade happens, and then you can, of course, upload and create your own as well. So that was really the only other part I wanted to show you here in the application. And I need to share with Deb that I had a situation where the PDF did not render, and it kind of rendered things useless. So guys, we're near the top of our time. If there's any questions, please feel free to email those to me, bdoyle at vCIOToolbox. This recording will be available inside the university within the next 24 hours. And keep an eye out for an email letting you know that these upgrades have happened within your instance, so you can start taking advantage of them. If you do have any questions, reach myself or support, and we'd be happy to help you. I want to thank everybody for joining me again this week. We look forward to seeing you every Tuesday at these office hours, and I will now allow you guys to have the rest of your day. Thanks for joining me.